In 2007, Erica Stone met a Marine on crutches at the Palm Springs airport. He had just missed the last bus to the 29 Palms Marine Base. He had a choice: pay $150 for a taxi or spend the night at the airport. Inspired by his plight, Erica Stone formed SOS, Soldiers Organized Services. We're really excited to be joined by Erica Stone, who is the founder of Soldiers Organized Services, and you provide Marines and their families rides from the airport to the 29 Palms base, Marine base, correct?
Yes.
So Erica, where were you born?
San Diego, California, so I'm definitely a California girl.
And what was your childhood like? What was it like growing up?
My daddy was a older, cranky cowboy from Wyoming, World War II vet, and my mother was from La Jolla, California. So I had a very interesting childhood between San Diego, Northern California, but between there and Wyoming. So I was a California cowgirl.
So you were exposed to the military fairly young, and sort of that mindset, mentality?
Well, my daddy was a World War II vet, and World War II vets, it's a different era, I think, with individuals, for the fact that they knew they were American heroes. My daddy knew that he was an American hero. So growing up in that realm, very patriotic, you know, because I know what my father went through. I know what his brothers went through.
And your dad was not reluctant to speak of his time in service?
He never spoke of war, but he spoke of coming home, telling me one time about a train ride and that he was in the middle of Baton Rouge, Louisiana or something, out in the sticks, and he had to get somewhere, and you know that he went on this crazy journey and had hitchhiked and met a gal. So I mean, I heard stories like that, but not of war.
So that's interesting that your father's story about his journey, do you think that planted that seed in there for later on?
I would think so.
That's really wild.
I would really think so.
So tell us the story of how Soldiers Organized Services came to be.
Okay, so in January of 2007, I was working at Home Depot, and one of my mother's friends was down at the airport volunteering, and she asked me to cover her shift. So I go down there, and there's a facility there in the airport where Marines can hang out as they come and go.
Right.
And the gal was locking up the office, and a young Marine came in, panicked, first duty station, had to report by midnight. He had $60 in his pocket, and his only option was to take a taxi, but a taxi back then was $120. Now it's $150 to $180 one way from Palm Springs Airport to the 29 Palms Marine Base. So I take him up, and we were lost for hours. We didn't know where we were going. And yet it was such a delight to know that I was able to help this young man that didn't know anything. It was his first time in California. And so I decided I'm going to go back down again, and I'm going to, you know, really help these guys when they come in. And again, the gal was closing up the office there where they hang out. And this Marine was different. And every time I tell this story, I picture this Marine with a halo and wings as he walks through this door, because this young man had been shot in the leg in Iraq, fell off a building. He had a whole hip cast. He had his crutches, his sea bags. Now, he had flown into the airport, and he'd missed the little bus that went up to the base. So he was going to sit in the airport for 23 hours till the next bus came with a shattered leg. Now, I said, please let me take, I know my way. We're not going to get lost this time. I was there the other day. And, ma'am, I don't want to inconvenience you. And I was like, inconvenience me? I couldn't process what he was saying. You're sitting here with a shattered leg and crutches, and you don't want to inconvenience me to give you a ride to the base. So rewarding, and dropped him off, inspirational. He was so proud to be a Marine, and he, there was no bitterness, there was no animosity about what had happened. He just wanted to, you know, go through therapy, get back there with his unit, and keep serving his country. So I dropped him off that night, and I got really emotional because back to my daddy.
Sure.
My daddy was born in 1926, and he passed away about 12 years ago now. And before he passed away, he had a stroke. And he would just sit in his pickup all day long waiting to take me somewhere. Old cranky cowboy from Wyoming. And I got really emotional because my daddy was also shot in the leg in World War II.
Wow.
And I pulled off the side of the road, and I just remember crying and crying, and all these emotions were going through me. And I go, my daddy would have loved to have done what I just did. He would have loved it.
Yeah.
So the next morning I wake up, I tell my mom, guess what, I'm going to start driving these Marines, and I need you to pay for the gas. And so May of 2007, the Desert Sun did a little article in the paper about local women.
Right.
And we went from a handful of my girlfriends
Yes.
to 63 volunteers. Since then, you know, now we are established to a 501c3 and go through all the steps necessary to be a nonprofit. Back to the beginning of SOS here, my mom was sponsoring the gas, and all of the, we started transporting, you know, a handful of Marines a week, and it was so exciting. I remember the first year that we transported 500, and I had the paper down there in the news, and oh my
That
gosh.
was a big deal, yeah.
It was a big
Yeah.
deal. 500 Marines
Sure.
that we transported for free. And I laugh because this last holiday season, we transported 542 in one day.
Yeah.
In one day.
Yeah.
We transported almost 4,000 within 7 weeks this last holiday season, which is more than we transported our first 2.5 years. For us to be able to say thank you and no strings attached, and be able to, you know, tell these young servicemen and women, thank you for your service.
And we appreciate it, yeah.
We appreciate it personally. And by the end of the month, we will have transported 60,000 men, women, servicemen and women, their family members, their sweethearts, from Palm Springs Airport, Greyhound, Amtrak, the Ontario Airport. We have logged over 80,000 miles in just driving miles.
Wow.
We have drove 359 times around the world.
Wow.
Which is almost 9 million miles. The huge impact of this, though, that we've made almost 20,000 trips. So there's 20,000 different stories of the impact that we've been able to make on these young men and women. And if every Marine or wife or child would have taken a taxi, it would have cost them over $9 million.
Wow.
What
are you proudest of?
That's a tough question. I would say I'm proud that I'm able to honor my daddy in serving and giving back because I know what the needs are of our servicemen and women and what the dedication and the sacrifices that they go through. I think that that's my greatest. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to help these young men and women. So that, I think, would be my greatest. That and have a gift for Gab. Those would be
You
my
do.
two.
You do.
That'd be my
Erica
two.
Stone, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.